right, you entered a plea of guilty on April 15th to the offense of burglary of a habitation. According to your plea bargain agreement, punishment is to be assessed at a cap of 5 silent. There is a $1,500 fine, and there's to be no contact with the complainant. Parties waived PSI. Does anyone have any witnesses?
I do, Your Honor, and I'd like to just make a quick opening and then I'll call some witnesses, Your Honor.
All right, yes.
Judge, I mean, this situation, and we have Emilio Lopez. Prior to this event, he was studying to become a firefighter. He was attending college classes to become a firefighter. He's going through a breakup. He has a kind of a bad breakup. He's very emotionally connected to this person. He goes to her house. He wants to talk with her. And then it just gets kind of crazy from the.
And I'm so sorry.
No problem, Judge.
Let me see if the jury's available
Sure thing.
and do this closing argument, and then I'll take your matter up.
Perfect, Judge.
All right, thank you. All right, then we'll see if the jurors are here, and then we could take, they're all here. All right, so if we could take them back and we'll do closing. All right, and Mr. Bloomquist, you have begun your opening for the court.
Yes, Judge. I just want to clarify for the court. So my client was in a relationship with the victim. They had been in a lot of a dating relationship. That relationship had gone south. My client was very distraught about that. He went to her home to talk with her. I believe the evidence is going to show that he didn't have any intent to commit any act of violence against her during that. She opens the door. She's very upset to see him. She starts to yell. Things get out of control. He does push his way into her apartment and does commit burglary. At some point, she's yelling and he falls on top of her. It's a really regrettable situation. I think the evidence is going to show that Mr. Lopez is taking full responsibility for the actions that he did that day. I believe he understands that what he did was wrong, and then also think the evidence is going to show that this is out of character for Mr. Lopez. And now I'll just call my first witness.
All right.
Can I call Emily Lopez?
All right, you'll need to step that way.
She's just on
Can you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth to help you God?
Yes.
All right, you can lower your hand, state your name for the record.
Emily Lopez.
All right, make sure you keep your voice up so that I can hear.
Okay.
All right, defense, you may proceed.
And how are you related to Emilio Lopez?
He's my little brother.
Okay. And what's the age difference between the two of you?
3 years.
And is he the youngest child in your family?
Yes, sir.
And how many other siblings do you have?
One older brother.
And where did you grow up? What kind of kid was Emilio as you were growing up?
He was a lot. He was very active, very fun. He was very well liked by his friends and our family. If we have younger siblings, we all love him a lot.
I think you told me that he was kind of a quiet kid, but all the kids in school liked him. Can you describe that for the court?
Yeah, so he's very active at home. In school, he was more on the quiet side. But even then, even like that, the other students would always follow him around and his opinion, and just like the teachers would kind of use him to guide other students in a way.
Okay. And then your mom did she have epilepsy?
She gets seizures.
Okay, so she would have seizures. Tell me about how Amelia would react when your mom had seizures.
Well, the first time it happened, he was by himself. He took care of her on his own. But then after that, it was me and my siblings there. But he was a lot calmer, and so he was able to help guide me and my older brother on what to do to help her in the situation and to make sure everybody was safe.
Okay. And that was something that he kind of did whenever she would have a seizure. He would kind of step forward, even though he was the youngest.
Yes.
The last couple years, so what city do you reside in?
Bryan, Texas.
And at some point, did Emilio come to live with you in Bryan?
Yes, 2 years ago.
Okay. And so when he came there to what was he doing in Bryan?
He was working and trying to get college hours so he could apply to be a firefighter.
Okay. And when he was going through this program to become a firefighter, are you aware that that's no longer an option for him now because of the felony charge, felony arrest and all that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then, was that something he really cared about, was trying to become a firefighter?
Yes, sir.
As far as work, where's he been working since he's been there in Bryan College Station?
He worked at Blaze Pizza. He was a shift lead there, I think.
Mhm.
And then he was also a shift lead at a barbecue.
Okay. And is it true that he won employee of the month multiple months during the time he was working there?
Yes, sir.
During the time that Amelia was going through this breakup, did you notice a change in his behavior?
Yeah, he was a lot more, I don't know, like reserved. He spent a lot of time in his room, didn't really interact with us that much anymore.
Okay.
Can you keep your voice up, please?
And was he really hurt when the relationship ended?
Yes, sir.
And is there anything you want the judge to know before she makes, decides the sentence of Amelia?
We just care about him a lot, so, and I recognize he made a mistake or he has owned up to it.
And that's something he's been doing throughout this process, is taking responsibility for what he did.
Yes, sir.
And has he expressed to you that he's upset about how his actions have affected the rest of the people in the family?
Yes, sir.
And how has he done that?
Well, he's told me outright that he knows that he shouldn't have done that. He shouldn't have put her in that situation, but also he recognizes that we've been affected by it as well.
Okay. And if the judge were to grant Emilio probation, do you have any doubt that he would do everything he could to be successful in doing that? I'll pass witness.
Any questions?
Just a few questions now. I couldn't hear a little bit at the beginning, but you said he's your little brother?
Yes,
And how far apart are you guys in age?
3 years.
3 years, okay. You're aware that he was in a relationship with the victim in the case? Do you know how long they were dating?
Probably a year and a half.
Do you know if this was his first relationship ever with the girl?
Yes.
First one, okay. Do you feel that men who do what he did to a woman should be properly punished? No further questions, Ron.
All right, thank you so much.
We'll call.
All right, before you call your next witness, because I like to get to the point. This is my understanding. You can come back. This is my understanding of the facts of this case. How old are you? 22. And at the time this happened in 2024, you're maybe 21.
Yes, sure.
All right. So what I'm hearing is that you were in a relationship with someone. Your sister testified that this is the first relationship he's ever heard. Does anyone doubt that this was his first relationship?
At this point, I don't have any doubts about that.
All right. So he's in a relationship with somebody for a year. And if my reading of the facts are incorrect, let me know. He's in a relationship with her for a year. They end up breaking up. According to police reports, they're either breaking up by text or phone. And then sometimes they would get back together, then break up again and get back together. He's in College Station. He finds out that during the relationship that maybe he wasn't the only person she was dating. I'll put it that way. So for some reason, this 21-year-old drives all the way from College Station to San Antonio. How long a drive is that?
About 3.5, 4 hours, Your Honor.
3 and 4 hours to talk to her about the breakup of their relationship, and he wants to get back together. So he comes back to the apartment. In the apartment is the complainant he was dating, the complainant's sister, and the sister's boyfriend. Now, they say that he knocks on the door or whatever. No, he enters the door with a key because he had made a copy of the key, which she didn't know he had made a copy of the key during their relationship. She sees him opening the door or whatever. He ends up entering the habitation, which anytime you enter a habitation without permission, any parts of your body or whatever, that becomes the burglary. And then he is talking to her, pushing her back to the room, want to talk about the breakup of the relationship or the facts that she maybe was untrue to him. They go into her bedroom. He's pushing her towards the bedroom. Police report, he wants to talk to her. In the report, she says that he has a pocket knife. The officer says, he questions him. He says, yes, I do own a pocket knife, but I never displayed a pocket knife. He never left the apartment. The police don't find a pocket knife in the apartment or a pocket knife on him. Is that correct?
Yes, I believe so.
Yes, but there's,
But I mean, there's no pocket knife ever found. Did somebody find a pocket knife?
as an officer of the court, I can say I've spoken to the victim and her sister, and a pocket knife was found by them underneath the victim's bed in her bedroom.
All right, did somebody call the police and say, hey, you didn't do a proper search? There's a pocket knife underneath the bed?
And I believe they did that after the fact, no.
All right, so.
And let me just add one thing to that, Judge. When he's asked, I think the police officer asked him while because after the event, he sits on the stoop and waits for the police to be called. And then when the police officer comes, I think he told him that he had the pocket knife always, that he uses it for his job, but he didn't use it in any way.
Oh, no, I mean, I'm just going by
Yes,
what
sir.
the police
Yes, Your
report
Honor.
says. Police report says suspect, that's you, stated he did have a pocket knife on his person, but never displayed or brandished the weapon to the victim or other persons in the apartment. It should be documented that the pocket knife was not found on his person or inside the apartment. So now let's get to the point. State is silent, which means they want me to determine whether or not he should go to prison or whether or not he should be placed on deferred adjudication. Does the complainant want him in prison? Does anybody know?
She's right here, Your Honor.
You want to ask her?
Can go ask.
And this is just something for me to consider. It's not saying I'll send him to prison. It's just for me to
No,
consider.
I understand that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a reasonable.
Victim would like prison.
All right. All right, I'll hear the remaining of your witnesses.
Okay, Your Honor, I call him Emilio Lopez Senior.
All right. All right, can you raise your right hand for me, please? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth or nothing but the truth, so help you God? All right, you can lower your hand. Make sure you keep your voice up because I have to hear and the court reporter has to hear. All right, if you'll state your name for the record.
Emilio Lopez.
All right, defense, you may proceed.
And how are you related to this other young Emilio Lopez?
It's a good son and trying to make a good life.
Okay, and where did Emilio grow up? What city did he grow up in?
Broadview.
Okay, and then prior to, and what kind of child was he?
So just a second.
Yeah.
So it would help if you don't turn
Yeah.
towards the defense counsel because you're turning your back
Yeah.
to the court reporter.
Yeah.
All right, if you all want to speak closer to the court reporter, you can. I
Yeah.
can hear you from over here.
Okay,
So,
yeah, just keep your voice up because there's always, just when you have 20 people in a room, there's always some shuffling. What kind of child was he growing up?
A good son and trying to get a good life.
Has Emilio ever been in trouble before? Has he ever been arrested for any crime prior to this?
No,
Has Emilio consistently throughout his young life, has he consistently worked at different jobs?
James and Broadview and then in Bryan, Texas.
Okay. And if he is granted probation, would he have a place to stay there with you in either Brownsville?
Yes, in my house.
Okay. And would you also, do you believe that he would follow all rules that the court gave him and do everything he could if he was given orders by the court to follow those orders?
Yes, gonna do it.
Okay. Has Emilio in his entire life, has he ever shown any acts of violence or any time has he been a violent person?
No, no.
Is there anything you'd like to tell the judge prior to you entering the sentence in this case?
Well, he has sorry, he made a mistake and he's gonna try to be a good boy and good son, like every time.
I'll pass witness at this time.
Any questions?
Just a few questions.
Well, I mean, state your silence. So if has something to do with any facts that are in dispute,
Not the
then
facts. I'm just gonna ask about questions that he was testified to with his relationship with his son, if that's okay. Okay.
I mean,
No
unless the defense has no objection. Yeah, that's fine.
More questions then. Okay.
All right, I have some questions.
Good,
Excuse me.
sir.
Yeah, I have a few questions for you. So, first of all, these are not mistakes your son made. These are choices. He chose to get in a vehicle and drive, right? From
Yes,
College Station to here. So, were you ever aware of his relationship with the complainant? Did you all ever discuss his relationship with the complainant?
I asked him sometimes how was your relation, and he said it was a good relation.
So you're somebody that he can come to or could come to if there were relationship issues.
No, you never told me, but we have seen.
No. I'm talking about in general. Do you and your son have a close relationship? Because the defense has called you,
Okay,
hopefully, and I think he's calling you because you have a close relationship with your son.
yes, yeah.
He said he's 22 years old, so you've known him for 22 years. So what is your relationship like with him? Does he discuss with you any relationship issues he's having or any other issues he's having with his life?
No, just we talk a lot about the jobs and the school and all that, not the relationship.
All right, so my question is then, did he ever speak to you about his relationship with the complainant in this case?
No,
Did he ever ask you any advice about his relationship with the complainant in this case?
no, it just I would ask him how was your relation, and he said was a good relation.
Okay, all right, thank you so much for coming down.
Thank you. And Your Honor, at this time I call my client, Emilio Lopez.
Can you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, you can lower your hand, state your name for the record.
Emilio Lopez.
All right, you may proceed.
So Emilio, throughout this process, let me back up. So have you been working, let's talk about right before this happened. So you were going to school. What was your goal to become?
My goal was to become a firefighter, and if that didn't work out, I wanted to pursue a career in either IT or join a trade.
Okay. And you were also working at various restaurants during this period of time?
Yes,
And during this period of time, were you being promoted at these restaurants to like supervisory roles?
yes, and Blaze Pizza, I was a supervisor now, and they were in the talks of making me assistant general manager,
Mhm.
but I had to quit due to a toxic work environment.
Okay. And then also when you eventually worked at a barbecue restaurant and you were hired on as a management trainee, is that correct?
Yes,
But that company then failed,
yeah, it went under.
it went under. Okay. And then, are you going to be able to be a firefighter now because of these charges? Is that possible for you anymore?
Unfortunately, due to my choices, those doors, they've closed.
Okay.
But if after like whatever happens after this, my goal is to still go to college and pursue something that I can do.
Okay. And then the victim in this case, how long were you guys in a relationship for?
I believe it was 2 years, either a year and a half.
Okay. And when this relationship ended, was that emotionally disturbing to you?
Yes, it hit hard, really badly. It was very I was very distraught.
Okay. And during this time when you were distraught, at some point were you kind of off again, on again for a while?
It was only once. After the breakup, I decided to just work on myself.
Mhm.
And I believe it was in October, she reached out to me saying that she wanted to get back with me, and I accepted.
Mhm. But she continued to message you during this period of time after the breakup?
Yes,
Okay. And at this point, when you actually decided to go to her house, what was your intentions when you were going to the house?
I wanted to discuss, again, I found out that during our relationship, our second time getting back together, she was, I guess, cheating on me. She was doing things behind my back with other people, and it just, I felt very betrayed and just ashamed.
Okay. But the purpose in driving from her house, well, first of all, let's talk. Did you have a key to her house?
I did was, when we got back together, I asked like, hey, like, is it okay if I can stay over, find a job, earn some money, and then go back to college? Because the job in College Station, since it was near the end of the semester, a lot of students left, and there wasn't any jobs
Mhm.
to go for. So I asked her if it's okay if I can live with her.
And how long did you stay with her?
I believe it was 2 weeks. Sorry, I believe it was 2 weeks.
And during that time, you got a key to her house, is that correct?
Yes, we first discussed because I went with her to get a key, and it was at Walmart, but the key thing didn't work.
Mhm.
And the next day, I just went to get another one without her. She was at work.
Okay. But during that period of time, you were actually staying at the house for those 2 weeks full time.
Yes.
And was it your intention initially to stay longer than that?
By the end of I'd say like I would go home next year when my second semester started.
Okay. But initially, you were going to be there for longer than 2 weeks. Is
Yeah.
that correct? Your plan initially was to stay there for how long?
I'd say I think I stayed there till, or
Not how long were you there? How long did you plan to be there when you were staying there?
I'd say 2-3 months.
Okay. Why did you leave after 2 weeks?
I discovered, so when we were together, we were both comfortable with each other, like taking our phones. You know, sometimes she would take my phone and just do
Mhm.
whatever she wants with my phone. And I discovered that someone was messaging her, and I saw, and it was an unknown name.
Okay.
And
That's why you left?
yes,
Okay.
and that's when I found out.
When
about
you
that.
were going there, was it your intention to hurt or scare her?
No,
What was your intention when you got to the house?
well, it was to discuss, like, as to why she did that to me, and if it was what we had, like, if it was genuine.
And why did you decide to do that in person or rather than over the phone?
Because in the phone, she would just not text me. She would ignore me, and I kind of I just wanted to discuss as to why she did what she did.
And how did you actually get into the apartment?
I believe she opened the door, and that's when the fight occurred.
When she saw you, she was upset, correct?
Yes,
Did she start yelling?
I believe so.
Okay. And you did push her into the apartment, correct?
Yes.
And then at some point, were you trying to hurt her at any time inside the apartment?
No.
Well, again, why were but you guys were in physical contact, correct?
Yes.
And at some point you both fell down?
Yes. I believe it was in her room. From what I've known, I tripped on something because usually her room is very dirty, and I think I tripped either in a piece of clothing or just something that was near my foot.
Okay. I mean, and then her sister's boyfriend came and grabbed you, is that correct?
Yes.
And then what did he do to get you out of the apartment?
I believe she had me in a chokehold, and he just dragged me outside.
And then when you got outside the apartment, why did you wait for the police?
I believe if I left, I believe they would take it as me fleeing the scene, so I decided to just stay there.
Okay. And were you honest with the police officer about going into her apartment and things like that?
Yes, I was.
And I mean, you understand that this would be scary for someone someone entering their house without them inviting them in?
Yes.
Okay. And how do you feel about that, the fact that you scared her?
I feel awful because then, um, even though like even though I felt like I was wronged, she was still a good person, and she just never deserved what I did.
Okay. And I mean, are you willing to take all responsibility for what you've done? I mean, if you, this whole process, you've been pretty honest about what happened. Um, and are you willing to take, I mean, you obviously understand that you're responsible for doing this. Are you willing to take full responsibility for that?
Yes, I do.
And are you asking the judge to put you on deferred adjudication today?
I would like to, but I would also understand the
Okay.
other option.
Okay. But if you're given the opportunity to stay out on probation, will you make the most of that opportunity?
Yes.
And what will you do to make the most of that opportunity?
I would first, if I do get deferred adjudication, I would try and attempt and get a job, pay my dues, and then pay the amount of debt that I have to my family.
Okay. And I'll pass witness at this time.
Any questions?
Yes, Your Honor, I believe you went into the facts of the case, so I can ask questions.
Yes.
Okay. Now, Mr. Lopez, you testified that you went to the victim's apartment that night, correct?
Yes.
Were you invited by her?
No.
So this was your choice? Okay. When you got to the apartment, you mentioned, actually, no, before that, you said that you had a key to that apartment, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And you said you made that key with her permission?
Yes.
She knew the whole time you had a key to her apartment?
He didn't know, but I assumed.
She didn't know.
I guess, yes.
Okay, she didn't know you had a key to the apartment that you made on your own accord?
Yes.
Okay. And when you got to the apartment that day, it was your intention to use that key to enter the apartment, correct?
I did, but I decided not to.
You did not to, okay. So then you met her at the front door, correct?
Correct.
She opens the door because she's wanting to go about her day that day, right?
Correct.
And you forced your way in with her into the apartment, correct? You pushed her all the way to the back bedroom, correct? There was a scuffle the whole way from the door to the bedroom, correct?
Yes.
Are you aware that you hurt her physically?
I believe so. Yes.
Are you aware that you scared her substantially?
At the time I did not.
Well, it would be reasonable for someone in her position to be very scared from what you did to her, right? Okay. Now, you said that the last thing is that you're wanting to take responsibility for what you did,
Yes.
and you understand that responsibility could include going to prison?
Yes.
No further questions, Ron.
All right.
Just argument, Judge.
Well, I have some questions.
Sure.
All right, so about this key, you were saying that you assumed you had permission to copy the key?
Yes, because I still had it.
So why did you assume? I heard part of your testimony where you were saying, or correct me if I'm wrong, did you say that you went with her to make a copy of the key, but then something happened and you all couldn't do that?
Yeah, it was the day I came to San Antonio. She gave me the key and we both went to Walmart to go to the key thing, to copy the key, and it wasn't working. So we decided to just leave, and the next day I went to go pick a copy of the key.
Okay. And then my other question. So before this happened, how was your relationship?
I would say it, in my opinion, it was good. Obviously, there were some arguments here and there, but like other than that,
Was there any prior violence?
no.
All right, any other questions?
No, Your Honor.
All right, so here's the thing. State is remaining silent, and I have to make a decision on whether or not I think prison is the right place for you. When I was in the DA's office, and I would have third chairs or second chairs sit with me, when we were looking at indicting cases, before I would take a case to the grand jury, I would do my own investigation. Because I tell my students this as well. This is your job, right? Hopefully the police are doing their job. They do a thorough investigation. And then the stopgap from somebody getting indicted, right, is the state is supposed to do their job, do their investigation. It's not supposed to be like, okay, the police said they did this. I've read the police report. It appears that they did this. So therefore I'm done. Let me just take this indictment. So whenever I was in the DA's office, what I would do is I would read a police report and look at all the facts in it. And then I would be curious. And I would always tell people, sometimes the questions you have nothing to do with the price of peaches, but then sometimes you may see that, hey, this has to do with the price of peaches, and these are questions that need to be asked. And then my next thing would be is I would then reach out to attorneys and I would say, hey, this is what I would be willing to offer in this case, because I would speak to persons who were sitting with me. I said, okay, we've done our investigation. We believe that this person has committed an offense beyond a reasonable doubt. Then your job as a prosecutor, because you're supposed to be doing justice, that's what's in the code. Prosecutors are not to seek convictions, they're to do justice, right? So then I would ask the person sitting with me, I said, your next question before you even consider taking it to the grand jury, what is the end game? What do you think is justice? Do you think this person should go to prison, or do you think they should have probation? If I felt they should have probation, I would reach out to the defense attorney if they had one at that time and say, hey, I've done the investigation on this. Think this person should have probation? Are they willing to come to an agreement? And then sometimes I would say, hey, this person deserves to have prison. I would reach out to the attorney. This is what I'm offering. And whatever I offered, if I was saying the offer is 5 years prison, if somebody would end up going to jury trial, and sometimes people would get upset with me, they go to jury trial and they would be found guilty. And you know what I'd do? I'd stand before the jury during punishment and I would ask for 5 years, because that's what the cases were. I would never do this thing where, okay, you want a trial? You go into trial? Fine. I'm no longer offering 5. I'm going to ask this jury for life, because to me, the case is worth what it is worth, for want of a better term. So in your situation, I don't have a crystal ball, right? I understand that you're young, pardon the expression, dumb, in a new relationship, driving all the way from College Station because you believe the person that you're in love with was unfaithful to you. And I try to tell young people, all of these relationships, some of them will last forever. Some of them are crazy, like Romeo and Juliet. I never understood in my school why people were gaga over Romeo and Juliet. I'm like, this is some stupid nonsense where they're killing each other because they're in love. And then when I did my research and discovered how old they were, I was like, oh my gosh, didn't their parents say anything about this relationship? So my question is whether or not, for me, is whether or not you should go to prison. The state is silent. So the state is not telling me yes to prison or no to prison. So I got to figure that out, right? And this is what I am going to do. He's saying that there has been no previous violence in this relationship. So that's what I have to go with, because I don't have any other evidence before me that suggests something differently. So here's your choices. These are the only choices you have. Don't come to me with a separate choice. People say that in my court, probation is very difficult. I try to give people the tools they need to be rehabilitated so they won't be back before another court, or that I'm passing the problem off to society. So you have a choice. Your choice is I can send you to prison for 2 years, or I can place you on probation, and I'll place you on probation for 8 years, and that's deferred adjudication. Those are your two choices.
I would go for probation.
All right. So, and here's the thing with that. I've seen a lot of cases that have come before me, some cases that are worse than yours. Sometimes people are offered deferred for cases, and I don't understand why they were offered deferred. But this is where we are. So this is what the court is going to do. The court is going to sentence you to 8 years deferred adjudication. There's to be regular reporting by Zoom or in person, regular random UAs. There's to be no contact with the complainant. that relationship is over. You don't have any children together. You don't have any property together. There's no need to call her. There's no reason to text her. If accidentally you receive a text message from her or phone call, that number should then be blocked. You understand?
Yes, ma'am.
It's over. And don't get into any other relationships until you work on yourself. Because the fact that somebody may be unfaithful to you or somebody doesn't want to be in relationship with you anymore shouldn't send you into a spiral. There is to be 200 hours of community service restitution, proof of employment within 30 days, no employment as a home health care provider or with minors. And then if he obtains a higher level of education or trade school certificate, the community service hours will be deemed satisfied. Let's see what else is on here. There's a $1,500 fine that will be probated. Probation, is there anything else?
Field visits, judge, and possibly anger management.
Thank you. Field visits 1 time per month for 6 months. Anger management. And is he currently in Bear County?
No, Judge, right now he's residing in Bryan, is that still correct?
Yes.
But it's your intention to move to your father's house, is that correct, or? are you planning-
If I, yes, in my father's house.
And that's in Brownsville, Texas?
Yes.
Which county is that?
I believe it's Cameron County.
All right, so are you in Bryan for school or something?
Yeah, I was going to Wayne College.
He was going to school, Your Honor, but then what happened is because he picked up these charges, he couldn't proceed with that program because of his arrest. But his intention to roll, I talked to him earlier today, it's his intention to re-enroll in school. And I think he also wants to get a job at the same time, so.
All right, well, they won't do, you don't need a transfer, I don't think, to attend college. So the court will do anger management, a transfer to Brownsville with his father, and he's allowed to attend college. Your client needs to fill out that.
Thank you.
Anything, I know you're silent, but are there any other conditions you would request?
Maybe a tap eval and
All right, tap
just to get
evaluation.
that.
All right, thank you. Tap evaluation out of custody, follow recommendations. Did you review the trial court certification of defendant's rights to appeal with your attorney? Did you understand it?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you sign it? Because it's plea bargain agreement, because I followed your plea bargain agreement, and because you waive your right to appeal, you do not have the court's permission to appeal. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, we can go off the record. You better start making better choices. And let me explain something to you. The state was offering you a cap of 5 salary. You decided to do deferred adjudication. From here on out, everything you do, you need to ask yourself, could this result in me potentially going to prison for 20 years? If the answer is yes, don't do it. If the answer is maybe, don't do it. So you had your liability limited to 5 years. Now your liability is potentially 20 years in the prison. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, good luck to you. Is there,
Victim impact statement. Yes,
all right,
ma'am.
if you stand over there.